This poem, Three Mothers, was my first published poem. I had sent it in to the Annals of Internal Medicine, and to my delight, they accepted it, and the editors published it. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank editors of such medical journals who do find space to print creative material alongside scientific articles. I believe it's a noble and wise decision to incorporate both. In this poem, each stanza centers on a different mother. The first stanza was prompted by a brief article I had read in which the caption to the photograph of an archaeological find, which was the bones of a dwarf infant being embraced by his mother's skeletal remains. This caption speculated on why they had died together and wondered whether she had sacrificed herself because her baby would not be able to survive the migration of the tribe. So the photograph made me wonder about maternal sacrifice and the complex relationship between mother and baby. The second stanza reflects an incident from work. At that time, I was an anesthesiologist at Stanford, and I had provided anesthesia care and epidural anesthetic for a woman who had a full-term pregnancy, but the fetus was known to be dead. The baby had died in utero from cord strangulation, and it was really a very tragic experience for the mother and for the father. The father accompanied his wife in the delivery room. He had asked to hold the stillborn, and one naturally associates death with cold, and he was very shocked when he held his baby that the baby was quite warm, still straight from the mother's uterus. And so although the epidural worked, the mother was physically pain-free, clearly she suffered a great deal. Grief counseling had already been arranged, and Stanford was quite good about facilitating as much as possible this family's time in the hospital. For instance, she would not go to the maternity ward, but she would go to a regular ward to recuperate. Nonetheless, at the time, I really felt quite helpless. And I think that you have to acknowledge and not ignore that feeling of helplessness as a physician. Ironically enough, I had given birth to my son in that same delivery room. So in numerous ways, I knew also that the room very frequently held quite a bit of joy as well as tension. And that led in the last stanza to some of the simple yet extraordinary pleasures that I have felt as a mother. So the first line of the last stanza is, of course, a reference to the wonderful children's book called Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown, in which she begins, "In the great green room there was a telephone and a red balloon." And this last stanza of my poem takes place not in a burial excavation or in a delivery suite, but in a very ordinary child's bedroom. The train whistles by. Childhood is transient and brief. Nonetheless, I think there are connections between mothers through time and across the world that transcend barriers and facilitate communal understanding.